Welcome everybody to the Dr. S.M. Chirisa podcast. Today I've got a very exciting guest. To me, is one of the greatest and creative minds in modern Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome to the podcast one and only Ignatious Mabasa. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Doc, and thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you. I know you are my relative, but you are not here because of that. That's not the qualification. I've got many relatives, but you are here because of what you have done, the work that you have done, and we want to speak about that. Let's start off for the benefit of my audience. Who is Ignatious Mabasa?
That's, I think I'll try and be brief because I think I could speak until the cows come home. Ignatious Mabasa is a storyteller, mainly storytelling in Shona for a specific reason. We'll talk about that later. I am also a creative writer. I am a lecturer. I'm a family man, and also I'm a Christian.
Wow. I'm happy to hear all those collective things. I always tell people that you are a multiplicity of entities, and you must operate in different spheres. And I'm happy that you are here today. Let's start off our conversation. Some years back, I read an article that Ignatious Mabasa he has written a PhD thesis in Shona. And not only that, the PhD was awarded by Rhodes University. So I was just thinking, it's me thinking, maybe someone else is thinking, but why? Why write a thesis in Shona? You're the first one and the only one, I guess, up to now. How did you do it? And number three, who marked the thesis in Rhodes University if it was written in Shona? Are there any Shona lecturers there? I mean, it just got me wondering.
It's a very interesting question, Doc. What I can tell you, initially, I wanted to do a PhD in creative writing. So I submitted my works because they wanted to see my portfolio. And then they realized that most of my works are in Shona. And they told me, so this was a different university at that time. So they said, no, we won't have anybody who will be competent enough to read your works and assess them to actually confirm that you can handle a PhD degree in creative writing. I was heartbroken, but actually it was the beginning of me realizing that something was not right. I was denied an opportunity to tell stories in my language. So I kind of felt, look, isn't this a little bit of discrimination? Isn't this, what we've always been grappling with, since colonial times? And, where you become the subaltern, you exist at the peripheries and your narratives don't matter. So I had problems also with local universities, and I'm still sad to say they don't offer a PhD in creative writing. And specifically, I'm a writer, and I felt I wanted to do a PhD in creative writing. So I was in conversation with a friend, a professor who is in Germany, and she said, well, I know somebody, a professor who is doing something that may be interesting. And that professor is with Rhodes University. He's doing or using a methodology called autoethnography. And I think you could tell the story of your creative writing and reflect on it and how it has influenced you and shaped the way you think and you interact. And also you are in the process making a contribution to the world of academia through giving the Shona language a voice. Well, initially I, just said, oh, well, I'll give it a try. So I submitted my proposal to Rhodes, and my supervisor was excited. This proposal was in English, by the way, because,
Okay.
So he was excited and he says, look, I just love your proposal. Please start writing. Start working on your first chapter. I can't wait. We'll then do the rest of the processes as we go on. So you need to have your proposal be considered by what is called a higher degrees committee.
Okay.
So my professor, or the professor I was now working with, has given me the go ahead. So I started writing and I'm excited. And then by the time the proposal went to the higher degrees committee, it was mutilated.
Sure.
And it came back to me. It was a huge embarrassment to my professor. He had to apologize. But then he was telling me, look, these things happen. I was not there. If I was there, I know all these, issues would not have come up. So basically, the main argument was, we don't hear certain scholars in your literature review. Okay. These are radical scholars.
Okay.
They, when it comes to issues of language and identity, you're talking of, Gutriak Spivak.
Mm-hmm.
She's
I don't even know.
Yeah. Spivak, she's Indian,
Mm-hmm.
Homi Baba. So I was, humbled. So I took my proposal. I then had to read these scholars. And I tell you, they instead of, of course, they helped me, but they also made me angry, because I then realized the depth of the problem that I was dealing with in terms of the intellectualization of African languages and the decolonization of literature.
Sure.
And the academic world in terms of how we... So when they then said, look, rework, I reworked, but then I said, I no longer want to write in English.
Wow.
Because
that was a bit radical, isn't it?
Absolutely, because now it was being informed by, these scholars. So then that's how I then set to write my PhD in Shona. The interesting thing is my supervisor, professor, was very encouraging, encouraged me a lot, and gave me another supervisor who is based here, Professor Chimundu.
Okay.
So he was the lead supervisor. So this South African supervisor became, the guy who would just support on the technical side of things, but not,
right.
Yeah.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. So, my apologies, Dr. Mabasa.
No.
I mean, this is so good, because I'm a proponent for African culture. I totally believe that there's a lot of great things that our culture has, and we should not lose it. Mm-hmm. Even in church, we have taken a radical approach to actually recognize the lobola as a wedding, instead of to just wait for the white wedding. It's a bit controversial, but we have to promote our own culture. And so thank you again for doing what you have done. I was reading some of your works. I don't know how many books you have, but I've read one of your books, and entitled Ndafahere, or Am I Dead, if I would translate. And in that, there's an intriguing quote, which I will quote and say, Kana uchida kuziva zvinoitika muchigayo, vunza chibage chapfura nemo. Can you tell us what you are writing in this book and why?
Ndafahere is actually more of a defiance statement.
Okay.
You, after all this that you've done to me, or that has happened to me, or that I have gone through, I'm still standing.
Sure.
I'm not dead. So, Ndafahere.
Okay. Right.
And that particular quote that you have just read is speaking to a situation that you find in the book, which is actually the main theme, that is driving the story. Mm-hmm. It's a story about a woman who has who has a child with a disability.
Yes.
And she's facing a serious challenge in terms of being accepted by her in-laws and also all her her other in-laws, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, they are all, accusing her of, bringing, it's more like you have disgraced our family. Sure. So she is on her own, trying to, support her child, trying to understand how she can help her child be part of society. And yet, at the same time, there are so many other social problems that she has to face. And so she is basically simply saying, look, I have gone through so much. Yeah. You need to listen to my story. And you appreciate what I have gone through, and you understand why I behave the way, because she has to endure, abuse. Sure. But she's doing it because she has nowhere to go, and also she has to take care of this child. Yeah.
And now, my thought was, when I read this book, was, were you writing your own pain? Knowing that you do have a child who is disabled with both speech and hearing impairment. Yeah. Were you writing your own experiences, or was this reality with a pseudonym? I think I really want to know, how you have handled it. I mean, I've seen people struggle. I'm a psychiatrist, and I've seen people come to me who the family has broken down. Oh, yeah. They are in depression. Yeah. Somebody has been sent back home to their parents and say that this is not ours, or people do DNA and say, can we check whether this child is mine, and all those kind of things. Can you explain to us how you have handled this situation?
Thank you, Doc. It has been one of the most difficult situations that I wouldn't want to say that but that my wife and myself have had to handle. You're talking of, it's your first, child. And there's so much expectation, so much excitement, yes. It's a boy, and, this and all this and all that. And then suddenly you make this discovery, and suddenly the world is so quiet. And then they start whispering, and they start asking very painful questions. And, in this book, one of the questions is actually a question that was asked by a very close relative. But what happens is, we ask questions which, are so unkind, and we forget. This is where now Shona, becomes a rich language for me. Chino kanganwa idemo. Asimutua katemwa ukanganwa. So one close relative on my side, asks my wife, Nai my guru.
Yes.
Mwana makamuita say.
That's a tough
adai. Sure. And you're like, you don't know what to tell your wife. Because to her, you are on the side of your relatives, and already there's so much, that's coming from them, And because we had gone so much together, so many trips, St. Giles, Dr. Banderson, there was also, I think, went to John Evans. We're trying to
all
help
over the world.
Yeah.
Trying to get help for your...
Everywhere. And then this is the sad part, Doc. You find also a relative comes with a solution. You can't say no, because they know you're desperate. Okay. But also you can't say, look, I can't go with you, to consult a nganga. I can't go with you to consult a mporofita or this impostor or paspemut. Because then they'll say, we tried to help them.
And they didn't want.
So they actually, want the situation that they have. But then it's after many trips, futile, where you actually see, hey, honestly, I think this is one thing that we should also stop doing as a people. abusing each other and taking advantage of, people's vulnerability and, people who are in difficult situations where you see this person is desperate and, they're actually on the verge of probably, losing their family. And you come in and you are like, okay, I can do this to help and I can fix this problem. Yeah.
I really want to discuss this issue.
Okay, yeah.
But I want to take it after this break.
Okay, all right.
I want to take it after this break.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go for a short break and come in and discuss this a bit more, a deep dive into how you handle this.
Turn your dreams into reality with the right loan, whether it's for business, education, asset purchase, housing, emergencies, payday needs, or micro-insurance. We have a financial package tailored just for you. Ways Road Investments, delivering potential.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Doc, this situation that we're discussing, of a disabled child and how difficult our African society handles it. How did it affect your marriage? How did it affect how you raised the then other kids that followed? And maybe as a way of parting shots on that subject, what would you say to parents with a disabled child and who are just discovering that their child has got a disability? I think this is something that is not talked about. I really want you to really pour your heart and give advice and guidance to how those parents should act so that they're not taken advantage by the society and more so their close relatives.
Thank you, Doc. I think I'll probably just, dive into these many questions from, what I still recall, which is so close to my heart. It is very important for parents who have children with disabilities to find support groups.
Okay.
I say this because that's probably one of the things that really helped us to realize that we are not alone.
Okay.
The moment we realized that, we then also started getting trust from this group of, anyway, let me say the sad part, unfortunately, is it's women who mainly have to shoulder this burden. The sad part is when you listen to their stories, and I think this is what then spoke to my heart, and I said, I'll stand with my wife no matter what.
Amen to that.
You realize when you're listening to the majority of the women who have, because we started with St. Giles, so that's where he started school when he was only 3. You are then meeting women who are telling you, my husband, by the way, I must say, men are cowards. We are cowards. You meet these women who are having to carry, I'm not quite sure of the medical terms, but I know you call it
cerebral palsy.
Yes, it's one of the, where you find a woman is having to strap a grown-up child to her back. And they are actually walking because they can't afford bus fare money to catch a combi from St. Giles into town. And they have to walk. So as they are walking with my wife, they are sharing information. And my wife, on one of these many trips, she comes back and she says, you are holding your son is walking next to you, and you are talking to a woman who is strapping a fully grown child to her back. And she says, I have to do everything for this child. She says, you know what? I got home, I knelt and I prayed and I said, God,
thank you.
I thought I had a problem. But what I am noticing from those that I'm interacting with is heartbreaking. And the sad part is, like I'm saying, that men are cowards.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the husbands
are not there.
They're not there. They just flee the home, abandon because the most sad part is, I don't know this business of kwedo hakuna shakadai. So it becomes the woman's fault.
Sure.
We have never had this disability in our family. We don't even have, anything like this. So they move on. And usually it's relatives also who then come and say, no, you can get another wife. And they move on and they abandon their wives and they don't even care about.
God help.
So you just say, hey. So that for me, as we were now, having to go to learn sign language, you are meeting, kids with all sorts of disabilities. And, they are helping us to understand the condition, helping us to, support our kids. You begin to say, wait a minute. I need to say, Lord, may I not fail to see those who have problems that are actually worse. And you don't even know how they manage, because you find this, like this woman, she says, I cannot, go for social, I can't do anything. I must be with, but I must also earn a living.
Sure.
It becomes difficult.
Yeah. I mean, this is, for me, it's so critical for our society to change its thinking and mindset. And offer that helping hand and to celebrate those unsung heroes who go through difficult, austere situations. And you are one of them. I mean, having gone through all this and what you've accomplished, surely this is amazing and incredible.
Thank you.
Let's just move on to another subject. I looked at the books that you have written. So much creativity. I've looked at the topics and the titles of your books. Mapenzi, Imbwa yemunhu, Ndafa here, Zisoro zongororo, Chawe chimtungire viri rengoro, Zvingori zvidhori nezvigure zvakadhakwa. I mean, and I want to know what inspires you to pen those kind of titles, and what thought process, and what is the main message? Where do you get the wisdom from to do all this? How did it come?
The wisdom, I must say, I was raised by a grandmother. And again, it's partly, the story that has also led me to say, I'll stand and support my wife.
Okay.
Because, when I was very young, when I was 4 years old, my mother was sent back to her people, and my father remarried. So you find you are growing up looking for your mother, because all the other kids around you are running to their mothers. They're getting hugs. They tell their mama, this happened to me, mama.
You've got no one to tell.
You have no one to, because my grandmother, her and her husband, they were farmers.
Yes.
And they are busy with, other things. But the good thing, what I still remember also, were the conversations that I had with my grandmother. She introduced to me the world of storytelling.
Wow.
Before I could read or write my name, I could tell you a story.
Wow. Beautifully.
So you find I then developed this love for the Shona idiom. Where you just say, Shona has a beautiful way of just expressing, ideas, And that's where I get, that inspiration.
Wow.
Kubva kuna mangwenya.
Wow.
And, up to today, I still joke and, quite a lot of, very, interesting and amusing things that she used to say. Yeah.
Wow. So how many books have you penned? I know you have done poetry, you've done books. I don't know, some were used in O-level, syllabus. How many books have you penned to date?
Poetry collections, I have 4. But the latest one that you talked about, Zvingori Zvidori nezvigure zvakadhakwa, that's my first poetry collection as Ignatious, without other without collaboration. So and it should come out end of next month. Novels, I have 4 novels to date. And I'm working on my 5th novel.
Wow.
I guess once you start writing, you can't stop. Yeah,
you write until you go into a grave.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I hope you're enjoying this segment and this edition. As we look at this gift to the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a short break and hope to see you soon.
Turn your dreams into reality with the right loan, whether it's for business, education, asset purchase, housing, emergencies, payday needs, or micro insurance. We have a financial package tailored just for you. Ways Road Investments, delivering potential.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we have this discussion with a creative, prolific writer, Dr. Mabasa. Doc, yes. What's your advice to writers? I've seen a lot of people starting to write now, different, even in the church world, a lot of writing going on. But the sale of those products and books is a huge challenge. I've got 6 books self-published. I don't think I have sold 1,000 of each of the copies. I've got 13 manuscripts that are ready for publishing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's sapping the energy from me to complete the process. So I wanna know from you, can a Zimbabwean in our context survive? Live from being a writer?
It's an emphatic no if you are if you are in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Unless if you then look outside.
Okay.
I say this because we prioritize other needs.
Okay.
We don't buy books.
Sure.
But also, when you don't buy books, you then don't have a reading culture. We don't, treasure books the way, other nations treasure books.
Wow.
And now it's even worse when you consider that most of our attention is now on gadgets.
Social media and gadgets, yeah.
So if you really want to say, yeah, I'm a writer and all that I do is write and earn a living, then look outside.
Or be ready for poverty.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I have so many friends who are, doing very well. But it's because now they are targeting, so they're being smart.
Okay.
They are now targeting foreign markets.
Okay.
And they are now coming up with stories that the West is looking for.
Okay.
Stories that, the West is like, wow. Because the West is tired of itself and it's looking for something new, something that would make them go, wow, did you hear that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I think that's wisdom right there. One of the things that was coming to my mind as I was preparing for this podcast, especially to ask you as a writer, with the emergence of artificial intelligence, where people can order AI to write a book, is that going to put a dagger on creative writing? What's your take on that?
I get worried, yes, because then at the end of the day, anybody can just, command AI, give it a little bit of, context and tell it to create. But the missing ingredient is when you look at context.
Okay.
Because AI doesn't know or understand me or the ghetto or the problems that, cause us sleepless nights, to really capture them with all the aroma that, should come with such stories. The life in the ghetto, it will miss that. It can only be captured by a human who is observing, living, and saying, I know what it means to be jumping over raw sewage that's flowing, and to be able to, get to a tuck shop and you find it closed when all you wanted to do was to buy a loaf of bread.
So AI, all it can do now is to copy.
It can copy, but
it can't bring that creative juice. That's what makes us human.
Absolutely.
And it can never be taken away by any software.
Yeah.
And cannot be taken away by any other artificial intelligence. Thank you for that. It really was worrying me. As we wrap up our podcast, what would you say, especially to my audience? These are young people chasing their dreams in a challenging world. And based on how you have overcome your own challenges, what would you want to say? What would be your probably say top 3 takeaway is from you, in terms of chasing their dreams in an unkind world?
I like that, in an unkind world. What I could probably say is never give up.
Okay.
Because it's easy for us to knock, to push, to kick, and we say, this door is not opening.
Sure.
Then, you know what?
Just give up.
I just give up. Yet God does not make a mistake. He deposits something in you because you are the right person to be opening that door. If you find it closed or locked, you must find ways of getting it to open.
Wow.
So let us not get into this business of, I give up. I run away. I don't, I can't endure this. Because where you are saying I can't, there are some who are sitting down and studying and realizing, actually, I'm trying this door, but actually, there is an opening by the side of the same door, and I don't even need to fight with that door. So think smart.
Wow.
And use your eyes.
Wow.
And I can say, also, let us develop a culture of, listening. I'm encouraged by the old nursery rhyme. A wise old owl sat in an oak. The more he heard, the less he spoke.
Sure.
The less he spoke, the more he heard.
Yeah.
And when you have heard so much, when you get up to go and do something, you are going to do it from a position of knowledge.
And wisdom. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Lastly, where can people buy your books? Or where are they? Can they find them on Amazon? Are they on Kindle? In shops? Where are they? Because I believe that your writing is practical and it speaks to day-to-day living. And if you love the Shona language, this is the material to read. And let's not lose ourselves as a people. as Black people in Africans. Let's maintain that African. So for the work that you're doing, we are so grateful. Preserving our heritage.
Thank you,
because we are not a mistake as a people. And so where can people buy these books?
Because I am with many publishers, the local ones, Mapenzi, Ndafaire, these you can get at College Press, locally. The Oxford University Press one is now available online. And I know if you Google Zisore Zongororo, it should be able to direct you. So you can purchase that. But we are also making plans to make sure it can be available locally, because it's actually an A-level set text.
Wow. But
we faced challenges with the distributor that Oxford University Press was working with. Then Tsitsidangarembwa's translation, Never's Conditions, that's with House of Books. But then if you feel, hey, there's a title that I, am not finding them on the net, and you can always place an order.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time to come and speak to us. And thank you for the nuggets that you were dropping and your advice to the upcoming writers, because there are so many of my mentees that are, writers, and it's important for them to hear from a seasoned writer. Mr. Doc Mabasa, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Let's get in touch, and please watch this, share it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to bring guests of this caliber. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.